Welcome in. It's a Taco Tuesday. We're live in the Terrace. The doors open 1 hour from now. Landrum, Pat, Conrad, Molly anchoring things there in the studio of Jocks. We've got Mexican pizzas. We got chicken feathers. We got all kinds of tacos on this Taco Tuesday. A little side of Don Don to go with it. How about that, Pat Smith?
Yeah, Don Don's already here in attendance, ready to go. So he will greet you as you arrive here on the Taco Terrace and get you seated promptly.
Doing his mayoral duties, he says.
Yep.
Very much so. Yeah, come on by and see us. The doors technically open up at 11 o'clock, but most VIPs get in here a little bit early if you want to get a seat. The last 2 weeks, it has been record attendance.
Is that why we have police officers, I think, from every municipality parked in the parking lot outside
I
City
saw
Hall?
a few of those.
Yes, they're having a big meeting. I think it's all about the security for Don Don
That
here at Social
That's
Taco.
probably a good idea.
Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll check in with our good friend Mike Griffith from the DogNation.com, the AJC. Get his feelings on the Georgia loss over the weekend to the Alabama Crimson Tide. How does Georgia get themselves righted as they've got Kentucky coming up this weekend and then Auburn on the horizon. Also later on, we'll talk a little Talladega with Brian Crichton from the Talladega Superspeedway. Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover will join the show at 11 o'clock. We'll get his feelings on what's wrong with Auburn's offense. What's wrong with Hugh Freeze as they're in the bye week this week. Ty Richardson, good buddy of ours, ESPN Radio out in Arkansas. He'll be along at 12:30. Talk about what's next for the Arkansas football program. And Dimitri Ravenos will join us from SEC Unfiltered. We'll see if he is back in the Crimson Conrad caravan for the Alabama Crimson Tide, because you could tell that Dimitri was wavering a little bit.
He's teetering a little bit.
Yeah.
Not totally invested. You mentioned Arkansas with the firing already of Sam Pittman. A lot of times we've seen this in the past where that kind of gets the snowball rolling, and other schools realize that, all right, if they're going to make a move, maybe we should make a move, and a lot of self-evaluations and candidate pool. You got to think about, if there's only so many guys that you're looking to target, who are the other schools that are targeting that same guy? And there's been times when the pool hasn't been that great, and we've seen athletic directors and athletic departments stay put. But I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
We all assume that Florida will be open soon. And then the question is, will there be any other Southeastern Conference schools willing to kick the tires, somebody else to take over the reins?
I predict that there will be.
Is there the possibility that a week from now that Florida job is open, depending on how that Texas game goes, right? If that goes sideways, maybe we're having a similar discussion a week from now in Gainesville.
Very much so. And then you have to wonder about the future of Hugh Freeze. If Auburn, I think, in my opinion, I think the next 2 games for Hugh Freeze in his career are the biggest 2 games in the history of him coaching.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt.
Need to win at least one of them.
Yeah.
Probably, preferably the Georgia game in a lot of people's mind.
Yeah, you got to get wins close enough, whether it's against Georgia, whether it's against Texas A&M or Oklahoma. That's not going to cut it, and I do believe that the pressure is as high as it's ever been for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I just think the next 2 games is monumental in regards to the way he is viewed and the way Auburn is going to view, because there are no more excuses. We talked about it yesterday. You were great in regards to your feelings on the subject, and I was on Feinbaum yesterday afternoon, and you can't defend the undefendable.
No.
And you can't do it anymore with Hugh Freeze. The proof has to be in the pudding. He gave the excuses the first 2 years about putting that program back in competition by putting the roster together that would be an SEC-type roster, and he's got the dudes. And when you're not throwing to potentially 2 NFL drafted wide receivers on the outside, I mean, that's just absolute, just unbelievable to think that a coach would not single those guys out to get the ball to.
Yeah, and I don't want to write Hugh Freeze's college football coaching at Auburn obituary right now, but I've seen it too many times. Our listeners, you've seen it, whether you're an Alabama fan, an Auburn fan, or just a college football fan, and you feel it when things start to go south. And I don't know. I sensed it last year. I was underwhelmed with some of the in-game coaching decisions when I felt like Auburn had a great opportunity to win football games. And then you couple all of that with the amount of talent. You handpick guys to come in. And on top of that, I think it made it worse, the offense. And that's your baby. That's your deal. That's your department. And to have all of those weapons now in year 3 and for the offense to look as dreadful as it's looked in the last 2 weeks, unacceptable.
It just feels like all the momentum that you had after the 3-0 start has essentially evaporated if you're Auburn. I do wonder, though, if you are able to bounce back, and I know it's a big if, seems like a big if right now, and you get that Georgia game. We talked to a lot of Auburn fans a couple weeks ago and said, after this 3-game stretch, what do you think the record will be? And a lot of people, I know Don was one of them, said 4-2. And that's exactly where you would be with the win over Georgia. So how much would that shift maybe momentum back or confidence back within the fan base? Because I think that's the issue right now is you just don't have faith that the guy in charge can fix the issues that are in front of you.
And I thought that they would split one of the two, either in College Station or in Norman. And the reality is they could have split one of two. And
they could have won both of them.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And then you start zeroing in on the causes why. And I realize the officiating, but look, they still had chances to win that football game. And an inept offense, whatever it was play calling, offensive line, penalties, or poor quarterback play, all of that bundled into one, it's just been a disaster on that side of the ball here in the last two games.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham Hotline. Joining us as he does each and every Tuesday from DogNation.com, also the AJC. Mike Griffith joins us now. Mike, your impressions of this Alabama football team after they took the Dogs to their first loss of the season, 24-21?
You want the first half impression or the second half impression?
No, I want the
first half impression.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Georgia lost. So, I mean, I guess you can
sure.
you can break it down any way you like, but I'm just curious, like overall moving forward, how do you view this Alabama football team?
Still a work in progress. Fantastic quarterback, great coaching staff, undisciplined defense. Big game against Vanderbilt. Probably won't win that game if they don't score in the second half. But you tip your cap to Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb for coaching circles around Kirby Smart and his staff in the pregame. I mean, guys, they were 8 of 8 on third down conversions coming out of the chute. They come right out. It's 14-0. I mean, it's a complete blowout. The first quarter was complete domination by the Crimson Tide. Capitalized on a Georgia mistake in the second quarter to get another field goal, and then Ty runs the 2-minute drill to perfection without any timeouts. So you got a world beater quarterback there. You got two elite receivers. Really good offensive line. Defense. Schemed them up early, but you've got trouble against the run. You got some games later in the year where Alabama's run defense is going to have to get a little bit more disciplined and short up. I mean, Georgia did have the right play called. Alabama was out of place, out of alignment, but the Georgia freshman tackle missed a block. I mean, it should have been a walk into the end zone. But fact is, I said last week this was going to be a game of mistakes, and Georgia made more mistakes, more costly mistakes, and Alabama capitalized on the road, handled the road environment. Ty called timeouts, didn't suffer too many false starts. He was smart to call those timeouts, and DeBoer had a scheme once again. I mean, just like last year, they got the drop on him last year. So you tip your cap to Kalen DeBoer. There's a great note in the Alabama pregame notes about coaches with the most wins against top 25 teams since 2021. Kirby Smart's number one was 22. Kalen DeBoer is second with 16, followed by Marcus Freeman with 14 and Josh Heupel with 11. So we saw two of the best coaches in the country go head-to-head, somewhat transition years, and Alabama came out on top. You give them a ton of credit. That was a hostile environment.
What did you learn about Georgia in the process on Saturday night, Mike? What did you learn about this Georgia football team maybe you didn't know heading in?
I don't know that I really learned anything. I mean, Georgia kind of was who they are. I mean, they struggled in the secondary against Tennessee. They struggled against Alabama. They failed to get pressure against Tennessee. They failed to get pressure against Alabama. They ran the ball well against Tennessee. They ran the ball well against Alabama. Gunnar Stockton made clutch plays against Tennessee. He made a couple clutch plays against Alabama. They are who they are. I mean, look, Georgia could be 0-2 right now. They could be 2-0 right now. They have a problem with slow starts. This goes back to last year. They fell behind Georgia Tech. They fell behind Notre Dame. They fell behind Texas. They fell behind Tennessee. They fell behind Alabama. That's an issue for Kirby Smart. It's a trend. At some point you're doing something wrong, and people are aghast that I'm questioning Kirby Smart, but it happens. Great coaches don't stay great coaches. Sometimes they get comfortable in their ways, and sometimes they need a catalyst for change. And I can guarantee you Kirby wasn't buying donuts for the coaching staff when he went in Sunday morning. They got their asses out coached by Alabama.
So, Mike, I wanted to ask you about one of the bigger, maybe the biggest play of the game, and you kind of briefly mentioned it there at the beginning, but you had that situation, the 4th-and-1 late that Alabama got the stop on. Kirby could have kicked a field goal, made it 24-24 early in the fourth quarter. Personally, for me, I didn't hate the decision by Kirby. Maybe the play call could have been better. But I was just curious, your thoughts on that play. If you're Kirby, would you have kicked the field goal? Did you like the decision to go for it there and try to get a lead on the Tide?
I like the play call, but I didn't like the personnel. You're trying to run behind a freshman right guard and a freshman right tackle. The one returning starter Georgia has is Ernest Green. He didn't play. So you got a brand new offensive line out there. But you got a true freshman right tackle right there that blew the assignment. It's an easy block. You can go back and watch the film. If he makes that easy block, it's a touchdown, and we're not second-guessing it. But that's part of the decision. You got to know what personnel is out there. Do you really want, with the game on the line? You did trick Alabama. You were right. They didn't get lined up right. They are undisciplined. You had them. You had them where you wanted them. You had them leveraged. It was right there in front of you. If the guy puts the glove on him and slows the guy down from coming through the gap, it's a touchdown. And you say, well, Georgia outcoached him and they tricked him. But I don't think you needed to trick him. You were running the ball effectively. You had a back go for over 100 yards. I think you call timeout. You go strength on strength. You've been beating Alabama at the line of scrimmage the whole game. But they had made the decision on the previous play on 3rd and 3 that if they came up short, they were going to go tempo and run the next play quickly and run that play. That play is a good play to leverage some teams. They'd had some success with it, and they counted on Alabama not being lined up correctly. And they were right about that. But they were wrong to count on 2 freshman offensive linemen to carry out their assignments and a former walk-on running back. So, yeah, you tricked them, but it wasn't your best. It wasn't best on best. You went for a play over players. I like players over plays. You got this 240-pound transfer from Illinois out of the portal for a reason. You've been beating Alabama at the line of scrimmage. Go for it. The reason you don't kick the field goal is Ty Simpson. He's in your mind. You heard the halftime interview with Kirby Smart. He said that Georgia couldn't get off the field. He didn't say we got to find a way. He said we can't get off field on 3rd down. Alabama was 13 and 19 on 3rd down conversions, and 13 of those conversions came on Ty Simpson passes. So you want to take the ball out. You don't want to give Ty Simpson a chance to beat you and get in field goal range to beat you. So that play call was a tribute to Ty Simpson and respect for Ty Simpson and what he's been able to do in the precision, the decision-making, and the talent that Alabama has at the receiver position. So I get the play call. I understand why you wanted to go tempo, but in hindsight, you got to know who you got out there. That's part of coaching. Just like the guy that dropped the ball for Georgia. You say, oh, he would have won the game. Well, he's a true freshman. He ain't caught a ball like that in a game. I mean, you're putting a true freshman in that situation. So that's tough. That's tough to do. You got to transfer from Texas A&M. Noah Thomas, where was he? I don't even know if he had a catch that game. Would spend $500,000 on him and throw to him and throw to true freshman. So I think there's a lot of questions about the personnel usage. I think that, it's hard to come to grips if you're Georgia, that you no longer have the depth, that you have to scheme around your weaknesses a little bit. You have to be aware of who's playing where. I go back to 1997. Ready for this blast from the past? 1997, Alabama-Auburn. Bruce Arians, offensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide,
Ed Sissom
calls a screen pass to a guy that doesn't catch screen passes. Got fired. They got him fired after 1 year. Got fired for that play call. Alabama should have won that game. That's all they had to play for. They were 4-6 at the time, I think. They weren't going to a bowl. So you got to be aware of your personnel. That's part of coaching, and then preparation. You can't, give up a 14-0 lead. You can't let Ryan Grubb have a script where he goes 8 for 8 on 3rd downs and jumps out, any more than you can let Josh Heupel, score on his first 3 drives against you at Knoxville. Sooner or later, you got to change something up. Georgia's got to make some changes.
Mike Griffith joins us. Mike, can you hold on through the break real quick?
Sure.
Absolutely. All right. Mike Griffith will continue on here on Three Man Front. We're live at Social Taco on Jocks. It is 10:18 here on Jocks. We continue with Mike Griffith from the AJCDogNation.com. All right, Mike, one thing's for sure, even in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, we all realized that this was going to be a gauntlet, and a lot of different teams had the potential of winning the SEC. And I understand that now, obviously, Georgia's only played 2 conference games. Alabama's only played 1. But moving forward, does this give you pause either way on the Georgia side or the Alabama side in regards to how competitive they will be at the end of the season for the SEC title?
No, not really. I mean, I came on you guys' show at the start of the year and told you I thought Alabama would be in the SEC championship game. I haven't come off that. And when you guys were freaking out about Florida State, I told you I thought they would get back on track. I mean, Kalen DeBoer's a really good football coach, like I said. He just got left in a pretty tough situation when Nick split and some of those elite players left. Schedule's tough. The league is balanced. Alabama's got its challenges on defense for sure. Good that they have Jan Miller back. I didn't know how effective he would be. He proved to be effective. That was really important, as it turned out. But no, it's kind of what we thought it would be. I mean, I suppose if I look for surprises, we really haven't seen Arch Manning come to fruition. But and Texas is kind of we're not talking about Texas. They had a week off, but I mean, my goodness, they had a tough opener, but then they played San Jose State and UTEP and Sam Houston, and then they get a bye week. It's almost like Texas got another off season. So Arch Manning's had plenty of time to marinate, get better, get his timing, all that stuff. I know he played well against that, Sam Houston team. But we're going to find out more about Texas at Florida, obviously, and then they're going to play Oklahoma, but they're going to get Oklahoma without their quarterback. So what a huge break for Texas that John Mateer is out for that game. Then they play at Kentucky, which is probably the easiest place in the league to play. Then they play at Mississippi State, which is, playing really good football, but, not exactly a world beater if we're being honest. And then they're home against Vanderbilt, and I don't know what Vanderbilt's depth is like, but that late into the season, and, that's pretty comfortable. And then they get another week off, and then they get Georgia. And, Georgia will have played the week before, and then Texas closed. So, the Texas schedule is the reason why they're still the best pick to win the league, even if maybe they're not the best team, which was what happened last year. They played only 2 teams with a winning record in the league, and in this case, they played 2 teams that had a winning record in the league last year, but they don't play them until the last 3 games of the season. So Texas is sitting pretty. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, it'll be interesting to see if Chambliss can continue this hot streak. They've got to come to Georgia in a few weeks. I mean, they've got a bye week, and then they play some punchless Washington State team, and then they'll come to Georgia. So they should be healthy and prime, and they'll have to pass the Kirby test in Sanford Stadium. They'll have to do what Alabama did and find a way to win in a pretty raucous environment. Don't know what time that game will be yet. Maybe under the lights, maybe 3:30, not sure yet. So they're. I don't know if we're ready to write off LSU yet. That was a pretty disappointing loss for them, but they've got a lot of talent. So I think they're in the mix. Texas A&M, are we a believer in them? They beat Auburn by a touchdown. They went on the road and beat Notre Dame. I guess we'll stay tuned there. And then Auburn. I mean, their season comes down to Georgia. I mean, if they don't beat Georgia at home in 2 weeks, I mean, cash it in and start rooting for Stephen Pearl because. That team ain't making the playoffs, and, you wonder about Hugh Freeze. I think he's okay. I guess it depends on how he finishes the year. I don't know how much money anybody's got to buy him out or who you'd hire, but as far as this year's season hopes, it's all in on Georgia if you're an Auburn Tiger right now. Under the lights, by the way, very favorable kick time for the Tigers.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Auburn, and you kind of just laid it out. We know that the pressure of the SEC in college football these days, this was kind of the culmination. Everybody's waiting on year 3, but that offense, Mike, just looks horrible right now. Not that it can't get somewhat corrected, but if things keep trending this way, would it be an overreaction for John Cohen to tell Hugh Freeze that he is no longer needed?
Well, let me ask you this. If you gave Auburn Texas' schedule, and they played at Ohio State and lost, and then they played San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston, and they're getting ready to play Florida, I think you'd probably say they'd be 3-1 and feeling pretty good about the year, right?
Yeah.
Auburn. My point is, Auburn has lost on the road to 2 teams ranked in the top 6 by a touchdown. It's not a bad football team. The schedule is brutal. Conversely, if you gave Arch Manning Auburn's schedule and he played at Baylor, okay, Ball State, South Alabama, but at Oklahoma with John Mateer, at A&M, does Texas have 2 losses? Certainly one. So, a lot of this is scheduling. And when you talk about parity, the scheduling really gets magnified because, it matters who you play. It matters who you play. And not only did Auburn open with Oklahoma and Texas A&M in the SEC, but on the road. Those are really hard places to play. And not that there's any easy places to play, but, this is tough to offer Hugh Freeze. And then your next SEC game is against Georgia? And then Missouri? Missouri's pretty good. They're a top 25 team. Are they going to open their SEC schedule against 4 top 25 teams? Yes, I think they will.
Mike, I wanted to ask you your thoughts. I know we were just talking about Hugh Freeze and his future potentially, but we now know that Sam Pittman, his tenure has come to an end there in Arkansas after they got blown out by Notre Dame. So first off, were you surprised they went ahead and pulled the trigger on Sam Pittman this early in the season? And secondly, where do you think the Razorbacks should look for a replacement?
Well, you take, yes and no. If you would have asked me, I would have said that can't happen. But I wouldn't have thought the team would quit on Sam Pittman. And when you look at what happened in that game, they quit on him. You look at the defense and the way they were getting gouged and the yardage they gave up in the first half and the big plays. When the team quits on the head coach, you got to do something, okay? Now, typically when you make a move like that, you've already got somebody in mind. Now, is Bobby Petrino, what has he got to win, 5 of his last 7, 4 out of his last 7? Could he be the instant, the instant choice? I don't know. We'll see. Look, these schools have to decide if they want to sit at the big boy table. All right? Brian Kelly said it best. You're not going to come in this league and out-coach anybody. If you want to sit at the big boy table, you want to sit at the high stakes table, right? This isn't the $5 blackjack table in the SEC, all right? You better come loaded. And if you're not going to spend a lot of money, don't bother. At least Kentucky lets us know. They're a basketball school. They're not going to give Mark Stoops the players and the money that he needs. So we're going to sit here and watch that bad divorce play out until his buyout drops down enough. That's unfortunate. It's sad for Mark Stoops. It's sad for Kentucky. Everybody's boxed in by this buyout number and Kentucky's lack of commitment to football. We saw Vanderbilt for decades ignore their football program and not put any money into their facility and just take. It looks like they're finally getting serious with Clark Lee, and they got lightning in a bottle with Diego Pavia. They're in on it for now. Will they sustain? I don't know. They've got a city worthy of supporting them, but Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. I don't think that they're in it for the long haul, but for the moment, yeah, they got a pretty good football team. But Arkansas is one of those programs. I don't know if Jerry Jones cares. I don't know if the Walmart people want to put some money that way. If they want to spend money, they'll get real competitive. If they don't, then you're going to be firing another coach in 3 years.
Well, Mike, I see it's going to be an absolutely gorgeous weekend down in Gulf Shores. I don't know if you have any vacancy on your wonderful property down in Gulf Shores, but, man, looks like the weather's going to be outstanding over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, everybody tells me October is like the best time to go there, and it doesn't. I've never done it, because I always think
Yeah, you're a little busy in October. Yeah.
But everybody says that's the best time to go down there, and yeah, there's some vacancy, and I always appreciate you guys bringing it up. Like I said, I enjoy having that property, and there's a lot of people that have stayed there, and people can check it out at Gulf Shores Getaway AL, and they can look it up, look up the property. Everybody's giving it a 5-star review. It's nice, it's new, and if you want to take your family down there, go down with another family, it's a nice place to stay. But or watch college football. I guess that's what Auburn weekend coming in. I kind of looked like, gosh, that's a little bit. I don't know if I got to get there 3 hours early and leave 3 hours later. I'd probably go down there and stay, a game weekend. But yeah, people can check that out. And I appreciate the plug, guys. But right now, I'm dialed in on this. This season, you guys nailed it. It's so much up for grabs, and it's so fluid. Odds shifting every week. Favorites shifting every week with every injury, every play. Alabama, Georgia. You could pick out 5 or 6 plays that could have gone either way. Ryan Williams dropped a touchdown pass too, but Alabama scored on that drive. There's so many different things that could have happened in that game, and that's what makes it beautiful. And then just the cyclical nature of it. Georgia fans are going, oh my gosh, Kirby can't beat Alabama, and Tennessee fans are going, oh, Josh Heupel can't beat Kirby, and Alabama fans are going, how the hell did we lose 2 out of the last 3 to Tennessee? And Kalen DeBoer lost 5 out of 6 on the road, but then he goes into a 33-game home. So it really is like the NFL, and we've just got to rewire our brains and realize we got to take a deep breath. It's all about getting to the playoff, man. if you get in the playoff, make that 12-team field. It'll be 16 soon, maybe 24, 28 eventually. That's where you start holding your breath. But in this league with this much parity, there's going to be a lot of close football games, and a lot of these coaches are going to be put under the microscope. And some days they get you, and some days you get them. And Kalen DeBoer, checkmate. It's 2 in a row over Kirby Smart, where his staff got the drop, and Alabama fans need to appreciate that because that doesn't happen often to Kirby.
You're absolutely right. That is Mike Griffith from the AJC, DogNation.com. Always appreciate your time, and we'll chat with you next Tuesday.
All right, look forward to it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Well, it's that season where you might be running the AC during the day, but the heat at night, and that stress on your home comfort system is why you need a Trane. They've been named America's most trusted brand for 11 consecutive years, so you can count on the reliability of a Trane to keep both your home and your family comfortable for years to come. So to go and find out more, visit Trane.com.
When we come back on Three-Man Front live from Social Taco, we'll break down some of the things that Mike told us over the last 30 minutes, including what Georgia did not do right and what they did right against Alabama moving forward. That's next on Three-Man Front. It's 10:32. Welcome back. We're live at Social Taco here on Jocks. Pat Conrad Landrum on site. Good to see Mary. She is here. She's got a great seat. You can join us here at Social Taco. Doors open up officially at 11, but, Taco Terrace Landrum's always available for.
Man, they got tacos, Pat. They got Mexican pizzas, quesadillas, tortas, handhelds, burritos. You want to go with a salad like Conrad, keep that girlish figure?
Yeah.
You can do that as well. come and join us here at Social Taco. The dollar cervezas are always flowing, and the handcracted cocktails you can enjoy.
Normally people start
beverages.
floating when FSU Dave
yes.
has his 6 beers.
That's right. He levitates in here, right?
Yes.
Interesting stat, though. We were just talking to Mike Griffith about Alabama and Georgia. Interesting stat coming from Gavin, one of our big Georgia fans. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Dog Stats, at Dog, D-A-W-G Stats. They're on X. He sent me Georgia's halftime scores versus Power 4 schools since the beginning of 2024. Pretty crazy. 4 halftime leads against Power 4s since 2024. 8 games with 7 or fewer points in the first half. 5 first halves without a touchdown.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, this is interesting.
To look at those numbers, and I guess that makes you feel better if you're complaining about your your coaching staff or your team right now. Look at Georgia. It seems like Georgia, they didn't win a national championship last year, but they got things pretty good. But
they haven't led at halftime
Kinda
against a
alarming.
Power 4 team since the Tennessee game last year. So that's Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Tennessee this year, Texas, Tennessee, and Bama. So that's 7 games in a row against Power 4 competition they have not led
Never
at halftime.
would have guessed that.
No, me neither. That's a wild stat.
It is. A lot of texts coming in on the text line, 205-834-9450. The Jocks app is always up and running, and we appreciate Van, our friend from Ohio. And he says, okay, as usual, really enjoying the program from Ohio. 2 things for me to say, roll tide, roll, and you demand, Don Don. Everyone stay safe and have a great rest of your week. Thank you, Van. We appreciate you tuning in. Mike Griffith is a better Feinbaum caller than guest on your show. Guy is miserable. I don't think he's miserable. This guy sounds like Bama hater's best friend.
I did like how he took the initial approach of, what do you want me to talk about, the first or the second half of the game? Well, it doesn't really matter because the end result was not a victory for Georgia.
They didn't use the word crabby. I'm going to use it. Mike's a little crabby this morning. Did you feel like he was crabby, Pat?
Who, Mike?
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't either.
Dear Pat Smith, thank you for shutting him down quickly when he tried to go first half, then go second half.
Yeah.
SEC schedule makers did Georgia no favors this year either. Georgia's opponents have had a bye or play a team with a losing record the week prior to the Georgia game. Going back to Hugh Freeze conversation, should he be out? This one coming from an Auburn fan. Lose 3 more, call Brent Key. Anyone who even mentions Gruden for any head coaching opening is just dumb. The guy sucks. No school in the SEC will hire him, not named Kentucky. So not a ringing endorsement for John Gruden.
I think John Gruden's a good coach. Now, if you have problems with him off the field, I can't really push back on that at all, but his track record's pretty good.
Yeah, keep the text rolling in, 205-834-9450.
Did you agree with what Mike was saying in regards to Hugh Freeze?
No. I realize the schedule's tough, but it's the
tough
SEC
on everybody.
And it's everybody. Yeah, and at some point you have to start winning these close games, and you have to start beating ranked opponents. You're Auburn. So how long are we going to kick the can down the road? I'm not saying fire him, but I'm saying that for Auburn fans to be frustrated, they're justified in being frustrated. You should be. The expectation should be. They were a lot more patient than I was with Hugh Freeze last year in some of those games. And I gave him a fair shot this year, said coming in, look, the season's not over. I just really hated what I saw. I thought that Auburn was in a great spot. I said that prior to going to College Station. I thought the defense showed up. But for the offense to look as bad as it did, and it was probably body language, and it's not probably fair on my part to judge Hugh Freeze. But looking at Hugh Freeze on the sideline, there was just no answers. And if you're an Auburn fan watching that game, there's no hope when your offense is on the field. That's a problem.
No, it absolutely is. And I think you hit on this really well yesterday, but you can't keep going into these post-game press conferences and reminding the fan base of, we're just one score away. The ball bounces one way, differently this way or the other way, then we win that game. You've been saying that for 3 years. Like, at a certain point, Yeah, I get what Mike was saying, but, well, you just lost to 2 top 6 teams by a touchdown on the road. You had a chance. You had the ball in both of those games late with an opportunity to drive down the field and win those football games, and you absolutely imploded offensively in both of those situations. You can't keep resting on the laurels of, well, we're right there, we're close. You've been close for 3 years. At some point, you have to get over that hurdle, and I don't know if that's going to be in 2 weeks or not, but that'd be a great opportunity for them to finally top that mountain.
So why was Hugh Freeze hired at Auburn?
Because he had beaten Alabama
Ultimately,
a couple times.
Pat, the truth is because Lane Kiffin ultimately decided to stay in Oxford. But why was Hugh Freeze? Because he was available, number one. Number two, he was cheap.
He was cheap. Let's
cheap.
just be honest.
He was
He's
cheap.
only making $6 million a year.
Yep. He had the buffer period where he went to Liberty, had nothing that happened under his watch or on his watch that would be viewed as controversial. And I think it was probably a lack of other guys that were maybe willing to, or they were willing to interview. That's what I think it was. I think it was part of it had to do with his success that he had while he was at Ole Miss against Alabama. That certainly didn't hurt him.
I don't think that was the main reason they hired him, but I certainly think that was a fact.
No, but I think he's just generally considered a guy who knew ball, who knows this conference, knew recruiting, and that could come in and run the program and get it back to where Auburn fans think it should be, and it should be.
Okay, so that's the big
picture.
That's the big
but
picture.
Offense is why he was hired.
Bingo.
Yes.
That was the answer I was looking for. So you come in, and we all admit that the cupboard was bare. It's been well documented.
Yeah, dry as a bone.
It absolutely. It was going to take him some time to get the type of athletes that you need on an SEC roster to be competitive, okay? But offensively speaking, they're averaging 27 points a game as the head coach. Now think about that. I'm not saying 27 points a game in SEC contests because you're facing really good defenses. I'm talking about even when you play Sisters of the Poor and you beat the you-know-what out of the opponent as a cupcake, that you can pad your stats. 27 points a game. And over that time frame, that's going to put you anywhere between 11th, 12th, or 13th in total offense in the SEC. So if you hire a guy because he's supposed to be this offensive guru and you're not putting up more points and you absolutely look lost in season 3 when you have studs on the outside that you should be getting the ball to, then that's a big old red flag, and that's why I say the next 2 games for Hugh Freeze, he is coaching for his coaching life.
And look, you don't have to be rah-rah and doing toe touches on the sideline, but I do think that body language, and I saw the clip of him getting the team fired up before the Ball State game or whatever game it was. And that was great. But Hugh Freeze just, to me, he doesn't look like, I realize he's battling cancer, but he doesn't look like he's totally in it, if that makes sense.
He looks demoralized.
Just looks tired. Looks tired.
Fair.
And maybe that's the cancer treatment and what he's going through, but he looks like a tired football coach.
Well, and I think a lot of it for him, too, is a lot of the blame, yes, he's the head coach. A lot of the blame is ultimately going to fall back on him. But I think now you have another situation where you brought in a quarterback who you thought he has experience at the Power 4 level. This guy had experience in the SEC. We're going to be able to hit the ground rolling. And I think for whatever reason, whether it's his style of offense just doesn't work anymore, the quarterbacks aren't what they were advertised to be when he got him out of the portal, I think he doesn't have a guy that seems to be able to run the offense he wants to run it. Now, and I think it's fair to say that maybe the offense needs to change and they need to run the ball more. We've talked about that a lot too, but I think for him, he just looks around at a guy like Jackson Arnold and goes, man, throw an interception. Let it rip. Let's go out there and make some mistakes now, because being timid and holding on to the ball too long is obviously not going to work for them. So something has to change, and he's not the one out there making those decisions in the moment.
Part of what led Auburn, I think also, Pat, not only in Conrad, that he was an offensive guy, but think about Auburn and identity crisis when it's come to offensive side of the ball, whether it was under Gus and the switching of coordinators and, hey, we're going to do it this way, or Gus isn't going to call plays and this type of quarterback. And then Brian Harsin, that era comes in, and we know the Jeremy Johnsons and what that looked like, and it was terrible. You hired Hugh Freeze because you thought, all right, this guy knows offense, and he certainly knows quarterbacks, and he knows how to develop quarterback and get the quarterback in. Then you get 2 years of Peyton Thorne. Now you're getting this with Jackson Arnold. That's not helping. So it's, all right, if we're going to bring a guy in to run the program that is an offensive guru, we expect the offense to kind of be the selling point. And right now it's the defensive side of the ball, and I give credit to DJ Durkin. I think he did an outstanding job last year with the group that he had.
Same thing can be said about Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer was hired because of the numbers that they were putting up out in the Pac-12 offensively.
No doubt.
And you saw the frustrations at times last year offensively when you had dudes on the offensive side of the ball. Now, again, the jury's still out on the season for Ryan Grubb and the totality of the work this season. But if Alabama, offensively speaking, struggles this year, then all of a sudden you're asking the same type of questions about Kalen DeBoer that we're currently having this discussion about Hugh Freeze. Because why did you hire that individual? It's because the proclivity of them to be able to go out and score a lot of points and have a very good type of offense. And we didn't see that at times last year. You can blame the quarterback, you can blame the play calling, whatever the case may be. But if you hired Kalen DeBoer to bring this high-powered offense from the Pacific Northwest, at times last year it was vacant. You didn't see it.
Yeah. I agree. And for the people that want to say, look at the offense and look at the stats, don't throw that at me after I just watched what I watched in College Station.
The offense produced 3 points.
Yeah, that's right.
They had
3.
1 yard of offense in the fourth quarter. 1 yard.
Yeah.
You got a 2-yard token touchdown because of an interception and a turnover.
Absolutely.
Maybe it gets better. Maybe they figure things out. I think the bad thing for Hugh Freeze is he's dealing with this now in year 3. But Auburn fans, I'm going back to my original point, Gus Malzahn, Brian Harsin, how long have Auburn fans been dealing with this? Dang near a decade.
Yeah.
Dang near a decade.
I think a lot of it feels like a continuation of the Harsin era at this point, right? It just all kind of blends together of just disappointment every single year.
Well, it's almost like Auburn hires these coaches that they come in and they hire somebody to supposedly, air quotes, call the plays, and then 3 games into it, you can tell that the head coach is still the one calling the plays. Gus Malzahn tried to fool everybody every other year on who was calling plays, and you never really had an idea of what was going on with Brian Harsin. And then Hugh Freeze, including this crazy talk in the offseason of 3 people
calling different plays on different
downs.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, it's just the chaos, and then you see the numbers, and then you can go, oh, okay, well, I can see why it's confusing. We will continue.
Poor Ken Austin if he's the third down guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. We'll continue with your text message at the top of the hour. We will talk Auburn with Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers, auburnundercover.com. I also want to tell you that if you're home and you're seeing cracks in your foundation, and if your doors and windows are sticking, these aren't just minor problems. They're signs that your home might have a bigger problem. So you need to protect your home. Call Alabama Professional Services, 205-951-9717. The pros, they really know their stuff. They'll inspect your foundation, clearly explain the problem, give you honest, pressure-free solutions. And also they can fix that foundation, and he can even tackle the sinking driveway or patio with their fast and clean poly-level systems. Call them today. Get started, 205-951-9717, or visit them at alabamaprofessional.com.
Lots of discussion, whether it's coach's hot seat, coach candidates for schools like Arkansas, or the game's upcoming weekends. We'll discuss it. We're live from Social Taco in Homewood. Come and join us. The door's opening 13 minutes from right now, right next to City Hall in Homewood. It's 3-man front on Jocks. We continue. We're live from Social Taco here in Homewood. Come and join us as we broadcast until 2 o'clock. Whether it's the quesadilla, nachos, the street fries, the chicken feathers, which are to die for, but also the Mexican pizzas, quesadillas, and the mix and match tacos. Social Taco, socialtaco.bar for more information. We'll get to your phone calls. I want to tell you about a place just down the parking lot from us where we are right now, and it's Mandu. Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. You will get results. I'll sum it up for you. Go into Mandu. They'll put you in a suit. They hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various muscle groups. A 15-minute workout. Because of that FDA-approved technology, 15 minutes at Mandu is the equivalent to 6 hours in a gym. Your first visit is free, and right now you tell them you heard it on Jocks, 10% off your monthly membership for as long as you're a member of Mandu. 15% off for all of our students out there. You got a busy schedule. You want to look good and feel good. You can do it at Mandu. Once again, it's a 15-minute workout, but it's equivalent to 6 hours. I promise, I guarantee you will get results. Mandu in downtown Homewood, MANDUU.com to learn more. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Jock sent you.
All right, let's go to the phones. 1-800-239-WJOX. AJ in Florida joins us. Hey, AJ, hope you're doing well.
Hey, doing well, guys. Yeah, thanks for taking the call. Look, I don't want to complain, obviously, about the Georgia-Alabama game. I'm a big Bama fan. But did it not seem to you guys, I mean, I'm not going to say lucky, because obviously we performed very well. Ty Simpson was unbelievable. The offensive scheme the plan was unbelievable, which still just confuses me how DeBoer can do that to Kirby Smart, but then he'll do what he does against Florida State, Oklahoma, Michigan, all that. But did it not look to you guys like Georgia was completely stronger than us? Like, I mean, I agree. If they just line up and run the ball on that 4th and 1 with a normal running play, we had no chance to stop it. Zero. And obviously, of course, the drop touchdown pass and the, I mean, it just kind of felt. I mean, a lot of Georgia people are saying they gave it away. I'm not going to lie. I'm thrilled they gave it away, but I kind of agree with it. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, there's just so many ways. If you'd have told me, because I was at the game, I got a chance to go to the game. If you'd have told me at the half that we weren't going to score, I'd have bet everything I own we don't win that game. You know?
Well, I will say this. As good as the first half, listen, you could probably count on one hand how many times you've seen an offensive coordinator absolutely have Kirby Smart on his heels. And absolutely Ryan Grubb was running circles around Kirby Smart. But adjustments were made, and I thought that Alabama offensively went a little bit more conservative, especially when Alabama had to settle for the field goal after remember when they got the turnover. I just felt like that there were certain things that Alabama was not it was like they were just trying to run the clock out, so to speak, without running the football, because they weren't doing that very well. But you heard Mike Griffith. I mean, he felt like from the get-go that Georgia pushed Alabama around in the trenches. But I thought Alabama's offensive line played its best game of the year so far, to only give up 1 sack and for them to be able to perform the way they did. Now, the running game's been a problem from the get-go for Alabama, but I thought at least in the first half Alabama held its own pretty good.
In my opinion, let's call it like it was. The difference in this game was Ty Simpson. And that's not anything on Gunnar Stockton, but Ty Simpson made the plays that he had to make.
No, I mean, you give credit to Georgia defensively for stopping the run for Alabama, but I think the game plan we all knew for Alabama going in was to take advantage of that Georgia secondary and to throw it a lot. And that's exactly what they did. Now, I do think that obviously on the other side of the trenches, Georgia had an advantage. They were able to run the ball effectively, but most of the times they were running it wasn't up the middle at Alabama. They were getting to the edge, and that's a problem. That's something Alabama's going to have to fix. But I thought the offensive line for Alabama, if they play like that the rest of the year, Ty Simpson's going to have himself a heck of a campaign.
It's going to be very interesting, the Alabama-Oklahoma matchup.
That
offensive line
is
versus that defensive
nasty.
line, that's when you know if you've improved, right?
You're right.
Guys, does it not seem like we're finesse? I mean, like, I agree with you. Like Kirby Smart said in the postgame, most of that protection issue was the fact that he got the ball out so quickly. It was scheme. I mean, it was really the scheme. I've never seen normally power wins, but the scheme made it happen. I mean, they just out-schemed them. If we ever got to blow people off the ball, I don't think we can do it.
AJ, thank you for the phone call. We got to run. Jason Caldwell talking Auburn next as we're live from Social Taco.